Okay. Now, the intention of this lecture is to show you how to prepare a research proposal. And then in this lecture, you're also going to see what are the contents of a research proposal and what is expected to be written under which heading and why. Now, a research proposal is part of your research. So it is an introductory part of your research. We call it a research proposal because you are expected to propose to your school or to your university to allow you conduct that research. So it is still a proposal because you are not yet allowed to do it until the authorities actually approve or disapprove. When the authorities approve your proposal, then you can go ahead to conduct your research. That means that for you to develop a research proposal, you need to know its structure, the structure of a research proposal. I would like to take you to the structure of a research proposal, and then be able to see what is contained in there. So a research proposal is made up of 3 chapters. Research proposal is made up of 3 chapters. So that is what you see there. Chapter 1 of the research proposal is called Introduction. That is what you see there as chapter 1 called Introduction. Yes. Oh, good. Let me share again. Are you able to see the screen? Is the screen displaying there? Excuse me? Can you see the screen? Oh, I want to confirm that you're getting the screen, because when you're not getting it, it is not good. Hope. Okay then. Okay. So I have mentioned that in your research proposal, you need 3 chapters. Chapter 1, if you're writing that there, you have chapter 1. Chapter 1 is called Introduction. Chapter 1 is called Introduction. Then chapter 2 is called Literature Review. That is what you see as chapter 2. I don't know why it's happening to my screen. It keeps going off. Chapter 2 is called Literature Review. If again you can see the screen, Chapter 2 is called Literature Review. And then Chapter 3 is called Methodology. That is Chapter 3. Each chapter has a name. When we are writing chapters, we write them in terms of words. Like chapter 3, you don't write the digit 3, you write 3 as a word. That is called methodology. So to just have a review, a revisit, we said that the research proposal has 3 chapters. Chapter 1 is called Introduction, that's its name. Then chapter 2 is called Methodology. Chapter 3 is called Chapter 2 is Literature Review. Sorry for that. Chapter 2 is Literature Review. Chapter 3 is Methodology. So those 3 chapters are the ones that are going to make up your research proposal. So if one is actually asking for research proposal, means he's actually asking for the contents of the 3 chapters. Chapter 1, Introduction. Chapter 2, Literature Review. And Chapter 3, Methodology. Now, the structure of a research proposal has these 3 chapters, but the first the first page which the person should first look at is called a cover page. So that cover page should actually be stated first. What is contained on the cover page before we go to the breakdown of the chapters? Still to confirm, can you see my screen? Okay. So now chapter 1 is the cover page. On this cover page, you're expected to include there the topic, the research topic. Remember that a research topic should have 2 variables. But for the purpose of this lecture, we are not going to so much dwell into how to construct a topic, but what you should know is that the cover page should have what we call a research topic. And this research topic should have 2 variables, the independent variable and the dependent variable. For the purpose of this lecture, we're not going to dwell into how we construct a research topic, but for the example I have displayed to you here, the career guidance is the independent variable, and this word "and" is a connector connecting the 2 variables. I just want to see who is making noise and should mute. Someone should mute. Okay. Thank you for muting. This "and" is a connector connecting the 2 variables. Career guidance here is the independent variable, and entrepreneurial skills is the dependent variable. For those who are in business, would say can have a variable such as management practices and the dependent variable and sales revenue. Maybe you want to see how management practices affect sales of a company. Those who are in education can come up and say motivation, strategies, and performance of teachers, or performance of motivation strategies on management, motivation strategies, and performance of students. So we use the first place in your topic. You present there your independent variable. For this case here is the career guidance, and the dependent variable, this one we call it dependent because it is depending on career guidance. When career guidance is done well, students get entrepreneurial skills. When it is not done well, they don't receive entrepreneurial skills. That's why we say that the dependent variable is entrepreneurial skills here. Then the independent variable is the career guidance. Your topic to qualify should have two variables. That is on the cover page. And then here it should be specific as well. That's why here we are saying, this one I'm adding here saying of secondary school students in Uganda, so that one knows that this research is going to take place in secondary schools in Uganda. You could even have a topic which is specifically looking at private companies in Uganda. Then where are you going to conduct your research? This is called a case. Here we're supposed to call this a case of Makindye Ssebuyungo Municipality, Wakiso District. This is a case. A case here means that is where you're going to conduct your research. This actually should be connecting with your geographical scope. Where are you going to conduct your research? So on the cover page, one would like to see that reflected. A case of Kampala Metropolitan Uganda, Kampala Metropolitan Region, or a case of Wakiso District, Uganda. So that case of is used to mean where you're actually going to conduct your study. That should actually be added to your topic. In the Nkumba University standards, the topic should move along with the case. Where are you going to conduct this study? So that is the topic on the cover page, and then the researcher should also display here. I'm putting an example here by, for example, Ssebuyungo Wilber Kivekayunga. You also need to include your student number. This is an index number, so that at the point where we are going to do an examination of examining your proposal, with the one examining may not need to look at the name, so that name can be removed and the index number remains, so that it is still identifiable even when the name has been scrapped off the proposal. Then here, because this is a proposal, you don't put dissertation. You put here the word a research proposal submitted to the School of Education as a partial fulfillment for the award of a degree of Bachelor of Education Secondary, a degree of Business Administration. There you don't put a bachelor's degree. No, we don't call it like that. We call it a degree of, then you state what degree it is, not bachelor's degree. It is a degree of Bachelor's of Business Administration, award of a degree of Master of Education Management and Planning of Nkumba University. That declarative statement should also be indicated. But now that this is what we are building up is a proposal, so here we shall put a research proposal a research proposal submitted as a fulfillment, as a partial fulfillment for the award of a degree of, if it is bachelor's, you put bachelor of what? Of education secondary of Nkumba University. Then this is, you add also the year of when you are going to actually submit this work. This one, when you've made a dissertation and all your proposals are done and you collected the data, you've completed your dissertation, the month and the year you include here is usually that last semester. If your semester, the last one is Feb 2024, you put that one. If it is August 2024, you put that one. That is your last one for that you're going to graduate in. That's the last semester in which you're going to graduate. For the case of a dissertation, that is what you include there. But for proposal, any semester in which you are works out. So if I was submitting this proposal this year, this is a Feb, this month, this is a Feb 2024 semester up there. So members, there are also some pages which we call these pages preliminary pages. Preliminary pages you've seen in your research proposed dissertations when people add here declaration, then they put a statement like this: I, your name, declare that this study will be this study is my original work and has not been submitted to any university. But these preliminary, we call them preliminary pages, and are actually written in, their page numbers are in Romans. I, triple I, IV, like that. But those ones are not necessary in a proposal. Those preliminary pages, you can add them when you are actually going ahead to do the proposal has been now passed, and now you can go ahead to collect data. That's when you can add these preliminary pages, which we call preliminary pages. Maybe for your note, preliminary pages, maybe you need them in when you have when your research proposal has been approved, and you need to add them. For knowledge purposes, the first one is declaration. So that is what you are seeing on your screen. So you declare that the study you have conducted is your original work and has not been submitted elsewhere, so it is not a copy and paste from someone else. Then the second preliminary page is called approval. This page, this is Microsoft Word. I wanted to go back to Microsoft Word so that you can connect with what you will do. It is called approval. That in approval, that page is for your supervisor. That's why the supervisors, you write and say, this is to certify that this work has been done under my supervision. That is, the supervisor will sign and put a date and the name of the supervisor. The third preliminary page will have dedication. That page is presented there for you to dedicate your work to somebody or an organization that you feel should have these people you dedicate to are those you feel have been very fundamental in your life. Not necessarily that they have contributed to your research, but they are fundamental in your life. They have done certain things in your life, or they have helped you somewhere, somehow. That's why you dedicate your work. It's like a gift. And usually, those you dedicate the work to, at least you print a copy and share with them. That is after you've done your research. You can print a final copy, bind it well, and share it with them, because it's like a gift to them. When they see that they are included in the preliminary pages and it is a dedication to them, they can even keep it in their shelves as an appreciation. It is a symbol that you actually loved them. You even printed a book and dedicated it to them. Then the other preliminary page is acknowledgement. These preliminary pages, when you add them on in your proposal, they are not very necessary. But when you add them there, someone may not cancel them out, but you just say those are necessary when you are making a final dissertation. So I'm showing them to you here because the proposal you're going to build will have a space where you have to include them. In your mind, you have where you will include them when the proposal is approved, so that they are there in your plan, your future planning. So acknowledgement, you acknowledge. In acknowledgement, you acknowledge that your efforts has been that your efforts have been complimented. Other people have supported you in doing this research. So those people could have contributed some money directly to you, could have guided you in making sure that you come up with sensible research and sensible work. Those are the ones you acknowledge that I am grateful to the following people who enabled me to accomplish this work. So these people here are the ones who have actually contributed to your construction of the work. They have guided you, they have directed you, they have also facilitated your efforts. So after that, after acknowledgement, then you go to the table of content. Before you go to the table of content, this is the list of abbreviations and acronyms. This one should be in your proposal. This one, list of abbreviation and acronyms, should be in your proposal as a preliminary page. As a preliminary page should be there in your proposal. What actually do you put in a list of abbreviations and acronyms? Abbreviations they are short forms of words that you use in your proposal. If in your proposal you've used the word such as BOD, meaning Board of Directors, board in your writing of the proposal, here you indicate the fullness of that word. NGO, you here in the list of acronyms you define what that word is. Then after that, in case you have tables or figures, you can also have what we call a list of figures. A list of figures, for example, here you see that there is a figure called conceptual framework, figure 1. Let me just go to it. This one is a figure. So there is a table called a list of figures here, a list of figures, indicating that there is a figure in my work and that figure has a name and is also numbered. There is also a list of tables, just in case you have some tables in your work. You may end up having a table. For example, in chapter 3 of methodology, you can have a table there. The table that you have there, for example, a sample size table, you can actually label it and call it table 1 if it's the first table. But in the new Nkumba University setting, or the Nkumba University naming of tables, these days you don't say table 1 like it is here. You first say table space what is the chapter. Then if it is chapter, the table is in chapter 3, you say table 3, then dot, then you name that table. If it is 1, then it will be table 3 dot 1. If there is another table in chapter 3, you say table 3, that is the chapter name, then dot. If it's the second table, you say dot 2. So someone can look at the table in the list of tables and know which chapter it is located, other than looking for the table everywhere in the book. So that is very helpful in there. Something you need to note also in the preliminary pages is that you need to have a table of content. The table of content, if you are actually writing up there a structure, that you have a cover page, then next is the table of content, from cover page, table of content, from table of content, you would go to the list of abbreviations, and acronyms. Then after that, you go to the list of figures, just in case your work has some figures in there. You cannot avoid, because you always have the conceptual framework, at least in chapter 2 in a literature review. At the end of it, we put the conceptual framework, so that one you will need it. Then after, you also have what we call a list of tables. In case you have a table, but of course you have it, there is a table called a sample size table in chapter 3 called methodology, where you tell us that this was the population, the target population, the sample size, and the sampling techniques you used. So those ones you need them in your proposal. That if they are not there, someone can bear with you that they are not there, but in the future you have to add them. Then after that, we can now go to chapter 1. Chapter 1. So members, a research proposal does not have something called an abstract. Should not have an abstract. An abstract looks like this, what I'm showing you here. This is put here because this was a dissertation. But for proposals, you should not have abstracts. When we find an abstract in a proposal, it automatically tells us that you have copied this work from finished work. That your proposal is just picked from something that has been completed. Because an abstract is a summary of all the chapters in your dissertation. An abstract will have contents for chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 5. So if we see abstract there, then it tells us that this student is plagiarizing. You are stealing some people's work, which we call plagiarism. So just for your note is that a research proposal should not have an abstract. So from tables, you can now fly directly to chapter 1. Is there someone with a question so far, or something you need to ask before I continue? Just in case you have something you need to ask before I continue, you can unmute and say. Yes? Yodaya Nabaka, you have raised up your hand. Topista Ishimwe, yes? You unmute and speak. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay. Okay, please. I've taken note of your need for introduction. So what do we include in the introduction? Yes, Bonita. Namanya, yes. You can unmute and speak. Bonita. Okay. You've raised up your hand, but you're not speaking. Okay. If that is the only question, then let me go ahead. Yes, Agnes Nanyange. When you raise up your hand, for you to speak, down there is a microphone. So you just tap into the microphone, and then the red cross goes away. Then there you can speak. Okay. Okay, you're welcome. Okay. The research templates for research of Nkumba University for undergraduates, I just wanted to note whether you're undergraduate or masters. But for undergraduates and masters, the research template is the same. Maybe data analysis methods can differ. At masters, data analysis methods become more sophisticated. But the template, the research framework is the same. So let us answer what has been asked about how do we arrange our chapters. Okay, chapter 1, its name is introduction. That's how you can write your chapters. The chapter 1 should have the words, should be complete words. Don't put here like this and put one, that one. No, that one is not allowed. You need to write chapter 1 in words. Then that chapter 1, its name is called introduction. Now let us write down the flow of chapters. Chapter 1, introduction. This should be centered. and then 1.0. 1.0, as you're seeing it on your screen, that one under chapter 1, we write it and call it overview of the chapter. One point zero. Then let us first write the framework, and then we shall share what goes where. Then this 1.1 means that 1.1 is a subheading of 1.0. Now 1.1, when you're writing there, should be background of the chapter. That you call it background of the study. You're calling it 1.1 because it is a subheading of 1.0. Now, in research by standards of Nkumba University, this is the flow of chapter 1. Now, background of the study is broken down into 4 perspectives. Actually, under there, I can write a statement. I can write a statement. The background of the study has been has been presented in 4, we call them 4 perspectives. In the 4 perspectives below. Now, the background of the study should be in 4 perspectives. Others call them perspectives, others call them backgrounds. So we break it down into 4. The first one, members, note the language. When you choose to use that they are called backgrounds, then use background everywhere. If you choose to say perspective, then here it should be historical perspective. Then the other one should also be perspective. So under background of the study, you have 4 elements. The first one is called historical background. That is the first one. That's how the order should be. Historical. That's why it is 1.1.1. Then after that, you have the theoretical background. That comes after historical background. Take note of that. Then that is why we're calling it 1.1.2. Then you have the conceptual background. Conceptual background, that's 1.1.3. That is conceptual, from the word concept, conceptual. Then after, you have contextual background. Contextual background, from the word context, contextual background. Now all these are sub backgrounds, so they are under background of the study. So background of the study was 1.1. Historical background is 1.1.1. Then theoretical background is 1.1.2. Conceptual background is 1.1.3. Then we have the contextual background 1.1.4. We are first looking at the framework, then after we shall see the content, what content goes where and why. Now, having seen that the background of the study is 1.1, now let us see 1.2 called the problem statement. The problem statement. After the problem statement, we expect you to write the purpose of the study. 1.3. Others call it the general objective. But here, I have called it purpose of the study. Then, after purpose of the study, we put 1.4 is specific objectives. Then 1.5 is research questions. To those who are going to do quantitative research, and then they call 1.5 research hypothesis. So here others call it hypothesis. Research hypothesis. Research hypothesis. After 1.5 research questions, we use the word research questions to mean that your research is either mixed research or it is qualitative. But those who are conducting quantitative research, they instead set what we call research hypothesis. So that is 1.5. Then 1.6, you have the scope of the study. Others write it and say it is called the scope of the study. Scope of the study. Yet some others call it the research scope. Whichever you use is okay, provided it is called research scope, or there 1.6, you can also call it scope of the study. Now, scope of the study, there are 3 scopes here you've got to talk about. That's why under it there is 1.6.1 called content scope. And then we have 1.6.2 geographical scope. Then 1.6.3 the time scope. After that, you have 1.7 the significance of the study. Significance of the study. We have always had a discussion with my fellow teachers of research on whether students should include what we call justification of the study. But we have always agreed that if a student comes up and says significance of the study, when the study is significant, you don't need to justify a lot, given the fact that you have already defined what the research problem is and the objectives are also clear. So justification of the study is not very necessary. So that is 1.7 significance of the study. I think now we have the framework. What we don't have right now is what goes where and why. Okay. So far, is there a question? I want to really not to be detached from you. If there is someone who has a question so far, before we go back to the contents of what goes where under those headings, someone can raise an issue here, and then we attend to it. Yes, Mr. Chiseka Frederick Samuel. Yes. Mm. Hello. I've missed you there. I don't know. I don't know whether it is me who is missing you. You are like your network is breaking off. But I got your first question of going back to see the framework. Mhm. Oh, okay, 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 okay. Someone else with a question? Boniface, Boniface, you raised up your hand. We are going to. Sorry. Okay, okay, okay. So, is it possible for one to use both the research question and research hypothesis together in a proposal? Agnes Ariono, yes, thank you. It is possible to use them if you have decided to, in your methodology, you have indicated that you're going to use both the quantitative and qualitative research approaches. So that for that case, you can use both of them, and that is for mixed research methods. You can use research questions and at the same time have a hypothesis, because hypothesis you need to test them in your research. So it is possible to have both of them. So that means that where we have seen research question, below research question you make a small subheading and show that they have also research hypothesis. At the moment you put hypothesis, just have it in perspective that your research is quantitative and you're actually going to test those hypotheses to see whether the null hypothesis is true or it is false. Then you can proceed. Okay, now just to have a little brief of the, let me go back here, just to have a summary of what your table of content can appear to be with chapter 1. So you can now see my table of content, chapter 1, just to have a look at it, that you have the chapter 1, then introduction, it is called introduction, then you have overview of the chapter, then under overview of the chapter you have background of the study, and there are 4 backgrounds. You're going to break down your background of the study into 4 sub backgrounds or perspectives. So the historical background, theoretical background, conceptual background, and contextual background. Then from there you have the problem statement, the purpose of the study, specific objectives. You see that numbering is also very important. And then research questions. If you have a hypothesis, you can also include. Then the research scope, which another one can call scope of the study. Then you have content scope, geographical scope, and time scope. These are under research scope. So that's why you see that they are below it, and their numbering is having the 1.6, which means research scope. Research scope 1 is called content scope, 2 geographical scope, and 3 time scope. Then you have 1.7 called significance of the study. That one, I think, answers the first request that Mr. Samuel presented, that we need to revisit and see the structure of chapter 1. That is how chapter 1 is. Okay. Then now let us look at the content that goes in the chapter. Okay. To have a perspective of how do we write contents in chapters in general, because this is a proposal is written in future tense. You can know why we say future tense is because you are going to do this research in the future time. So you're proposing to your school to approve your proposal. Then after approval, then you can meet your supervisors and harmonize it. Then go and conduct your data collection. So you can collect the data. So far, we call it a proposal because you are proposing. So it is a future. You speak in the future, in the future tense. In a future tense. That's why you say here in a proposal language, overview of the chapter. Someone who is roofing a house, please mute. Okay. Overview of the chapter. We call it overview. Members, each chapter must have this 0.0. This one, the first one, is 1.0. Chapter 2 will have 2.0. Every chapter should have that 0.0 there. But this chapter is called introduction, where we would have had the 1.0 called introduction. Because this chapter is called introduction, that's why we change here and call it overview of the chapter. But if I am to show you, just have a little look at chapter 2 called literature review. 2.0 is called introduction because the name of the chapter is literature review, so the word introduction can sound clearly to the listener or to the reader. Chapter 3, methodology, will also have introduction. So you can see that chapter 3, 3.0 is named introduction. But in chapter 1, we differ. We differ with 1.0 and call it overview of the chapter instead of calling it introduction, because the name of the chapter is introduction. So we cannot have introduction of introduction. No. That's why we use another word, overview of the chapter. But as we construct it, we are actually giving an introduction of the introduction. So, what is contained in overview of the chapter? This lecture is going to end within 47 minutes. So, our overview of the chapter. So, in an overview of the chapter, you're going to tell us what is contained in this chapter 1. You're going to mention, for example, you have written there, you're going to mention about that this chapter examines. What does it examine? It examines career guidance and the entrepreneurial skills of students in secondary schools in Uganda. That is about the topic, and thus the chapter includes the background of the study. Are you seeing that we are mentioning the main headings that are contained in the chapter? We have started by saying it will. Now you will say this, therefore the chapter will include, because you are talking about a proposal, you will speak in future tense, will include the background of the study indicated under the following: the historical background, theoretical background, conceptual background, and the contextual background. The chapter will also later provide a summary of the problem statement. Are you seeing that we have gone to 1.2? Then describe the purpose of the study, the specific objectives, and the corresponding research questions. We can even put a full stop. The chapter will later display the scope of the study and the significance of the study. You see that we have talked about what is contained in the entire chapter and the overview of the chapter. These have been presented below. Then you start background of the study. It is important that below the background of the study, you include an introductory statement, such as the background of the study will be presented, because this one is a proposal, so the tense here will be presented in 4 perspectives. Or even if you used has been presented, because that one is also acceptable, but not was. No, because this is a proposal. So here you then, after you go to the historical background. Now what do we present in the historical background? Yes, please. Oh, no. In Nkumba University standards, when you try to do that, you will meet many challenges, because the background of the study, according to the standards of the university, at bachelor's and at master's, has got to be broken down into 4 sub backgrounds. Others call them perspectives. If you don't do that, you will leave out information which is important. So you have the historical background. This is part of the background. So what should be included in the historical background? In the historical background, we look at elements. 1, you should know the history of the problem, which is, for example, the history of the independent variable. Here, for example, it was career guidance. When did the career guidance begin? Where? Who started it? Which year? So as you're presenting historical, because this is history, we should hear what happened with the career guidance. Or if you're talking about motivation, where did the concept of motivation start from? And who started it? You should have those personalities. Where? Okay, what? That's the independent variable. Where did it start? Who started it? And which year did it start? We should hear those ones in the historical background. Which year? Then, after that, how has the problem evolved from the past to the present? Okay? For example, here, one had got to present that career guidance movement started in Europe. Are you seeing the where? And the US in the 19th century. Do you see the when? but did not gain momentum until the 20th century, according to this author. Some of the pioneers of the guidance movement in the US were Frank Person, because these things did not begin by themselves. There were people behind them. So even if you're talking about motivation, tell us the what, the who, the where, the who, and the when. This is what makes up history. So that we are able to tell how it has transcended. Uh, then later on, your historical background has got to chronological flow. Chronology means a step-by-step flow from past to most recent and up to up to the current. You can skip some years and mention where or what else followed. Maybe some years back they were using some models by history, but those models were abandoned at a certain time. You mention it, and who abandoned them, and who started again something. If I was to write the history of phones, I have to mention about those phones which were on tables, and people would rotate the numbers. Those phones, I don't know the names, and who discovered them, and how they were using them. And then afterwards, these button phones which had uh, the, the the antenna which was long, the the ones they called chitafari. I can also see when did they start, and then uh, what was the experience of their users. I chronologically flow until I reach to the small phones which were still button phones, and then until I come to the smartphone, and then up to when I come to phones which have radios, which have cameras, and now they have television, they can have to social media. So that is, we in history we look at how has the independent variable, which is your core root cause, or the root cause problem of the problem, how has it moved, and up to the current. So in the historical background, we want to see the student displaying knowledge that the independent variable has not just started now, but something has happened in the past, and then up to the present. So when you're picking up, you're going to create an addition which other people will also call history when they are also conducting their research. So if you are presenting your historical background, we should be able to actually see those years. So that's why here you will see that someone is coming. The development and implementation of guidance programs across the country grew in the decades of 2000 of the 21st century. So now we have come to the 1990, that is the 2000s, the 21st century. The growth was propelled by a publication of this model in 2003. And what happened to that growth? Until you reach the current times. That's why here it is ending up in 2010s, that presentation of the historical background. Maybe something to note here is the citation, because this history, you're not getting it out of your head. So you need to cite sources, and actually people have got to read intensively to build up this historical background. So when you read a publication, and then you look for what is the title Is it an article? Is it a book? Is it a report? Or these are sources of literature which you've been taught. So you need to actually see who is the author of this article. If it is an article, who is the author of this book? So in the APA style of writing, of citing authors in your text, you write the name of the author, comma, the year of publication of that article or that book. But what you cite in text, with this is because you are writing it within the text as you're composing your body of the body of your research. That is called in-text citation. So when one reads here and say Wills 2000 brackets, does not actually get to know what book, what title of the book, who is the publisher, which page. So that does not give detail. So what you cite here, like Wills 2000, should also be captured in your references. So where you write and the panel tells you, or the supervisor tells you that your in-text reference, your in-text citation are not there in the references. It means that you have cited here, they quoted Wills 2000 said these statements, but they are not there in the references to give a detail of what Wills is, which book, which title, who is the publisher, and then the pages are not there in the references. Then they say, you just copied and pasted the citation there. We don't see it anywhere. We can't trace that source. So in a citation, when we are talking about literature review, one day I'm going to prepare a lecture where we shall talk about the chapter, that is chapter 2, literature review, and then we see how do we make sure that we cite properly and what we cite in our text actually corresponds with what should be in the references. Like you see here, Wills 2000. Let me just go to references and see that Wills is there. Under references, Wills, W. I should have W here. Someone said you have to. So if in the references it is not there, then it can be rejected. I'm saying Williams. These details, Williams, the title is Other Psychological Personality Theory. So in references, that name must reflect so that your writings are not disputed here in the historical background and everywhere. Okay, then now we have looked at the historical background. The summary of it is that in the historical background we include the history of the problem or of the independent variable. For this case, it was career guidance. But someone who is doing management practices, you have to state which practices, and then or if you are talking about a bureaucratic system, you've got to talk about the history of bureaucracy. Where did the bureaucracy begin? You've got to mention people like Max Weber. In which year was Max Weber's bureaucratic theory? Okay, bureaucracy developed, and where was it applied? Where was it rejected? Who rejected it? In which year? and then after that it evolved into what, and up to the current times. So that is the historical background. Then theoretical background. Theoretical background comes from the word theory. So in the theoretical background, someone has raised up the hand or what? Okay. No. Okay. Have I lost the screen? Let me share it again. Okay. Let me just check and see. Please, network unstable. Hopefully people have got me. Okay. Okay then. Now here I am on the theoretical background. In the theoretical background, we look at the main theories in the history, or those theories that you think are the drivers of your study. They are the drivers of your study that you can lean on them to defend that your study is valid. Here, these researchers want you to show that they are theories to defend or to support your study. So if you have management practices, for example, that is your independent variable, then you can have management theories to support your study. You can choose one of them or two to support your study. So if for example you're looking at management practices, for example, then possibly you can have the scientific management theory by Frederick Winslow Taylor. You can have theory X, theory Y by Douglas MacGregor. You can mention about if you're talking about teaching methods, and the teaching methods and the students progress in schools, then teaching, what are the theories which support you to talk about teaching methods? You can have learning theories such as the cognitivist theory by, you can mention scholars such as Frederick Froebel, and your cognitivist theory developed by you can mention Jean Piaget, and then you can have the social constructivist theory by Vygotsky. You can talk about constructivist theory. So then behavioral learning theory, those theories that support that with them you have teaching methods. So for this case, this research which I'm displaying to you was about career guidance. This one chose the need for achievement theory by David McClelland. You see that is he was convinced that because of David McClelland, people needed to receive career guidance in schools, because people needed to David McClelland proposed that there is a theory called need for achievement theory, that everyone needs to achieve. So people need to be to exploit opportunities so that they achieve much more than what they have. So someone who is using career guidance will say, if people are not given career guidance, then they will not achieve, because they are in their heart they have a need to achieve, but there is no one to support them through career guidance to achieve. You see that this is this theory can support the study. So in the theoretical background, you need to look at the chunks of theories and select 2 or 1 theory which you base on to support your study. What do we look at when we are assessing the theory that you are presenting? We ask ourselves, does the theory connect to the study? Is it relevant in the study? It is you who is writing up to show us that it is relevant in the study by creating a relationship between the theory and your study. So then something else we look at in the theoretical background, do one of the things. Tell us the theory, that is the need for achievement theory. Who is the theorist? David McClelland. You see that? When was the theory developed? 1961. What does the theory state? He tries to find the internal factors such as human values, motives that lead man to exploit opportunities and take advantage of favorite trade conditions. You see, now what does the study state? What does the study say? That has got to be displayed in there. If you're getting that information from some scholars, cite them. Like here, this one cited Phillips, 2013. Then, how does the study connect? How does the theory connect to your study? Is there a link between the theory and your study? Now, that's why this one said career guidance-based education system should incline emphasis on sparking students to attain larger achievements. Are you seeing how he's using the theory to defend that he needs career guidance? The need for larger achievements should draw guides and mentors into seeking contents and schedules and the participants to enable students attain the mega achievements. Are you seeing how he's using the theory to explain that it is supporting career guidance? So that linkage should be displayed in your research. That is what we call connecting the theory relating the theory to your study area. Now that is the theoretical background. If you have another theory, that's what you also have to note. That you state the theory, you show who the theorist is, who developed the theory, which year was the theory developed, then what does the theory state, and how does the theory relate with your study? Is it relevant to your study? Those are the perspectives you should have while you're writing the theoretical background. Now we are going to the conceptual background. Conceptual background. I want to see here whether there is a question. Yes, Chambade Moses, you've raised up your hand. Did you intend to raise up the hand? Okay, if you're not speaking anything, let us continue. If there's someone who has a hello, I can't access my microphone, but I'm hearing you well. Oh, Seka, sorry for that. I can hear you. We are not hearing anything, sir. That is Chamba de Moses. I just want to confirm whether you're hearing me. Can someone unmute and speak? Yes, editor, are you hearing me? Yes, Anite Joanita, when you were entering, you didn't enter with a microphone. So this person who can speak to me here is Abdul, because he has a microphone. That's Abindu. Bindu, can you speak? Shamira Chirabo. Shamira Chirabo, can you speak? You unmute. Unmuting, you tap where the microphone is, down there on your phone. Then the microphone opens, then you can speak. I didn't want to assume that everyone is getting me. Wilber, we aren't hearing anything. That is Agnes Ariono. Oh. Hello.